Howdy YouTube. Mike Hall here for Naps, New Age Pipe Smokers. I hope y'all are doing well today. I'm doing pretty fantastic. So 3 days ago it was about 7 degrees here, and I was down with good old fucking COVID. Today, feeling pretty good, back at work, and it's 57 degrees. A delightful change. It won't last, but I will take it while we got it. I'm working by myself, so not putting anybody else at risk if I'm still contagious. Feeling almost back to normal though. Smoking some old Dark Fired from I think 2017. I can't remember for sure. Mike Curtin sent it to me. Cheers, buddy. A lot of the other Naps guys don't really care for Dark Fired quite the same way I do, so they've been kind of sending me a bunch of their Dark Fired heavy blends that they don't care for, and I am certainly not complaining. Anyway, it's such a beautiful day out here today, and I just clocked out, and I'm sitting here enjoying a pipe in the car because it's so nice out. Figured I'd take this time to not only talk a little bit about this delightfully aged old Dark Fired, but also to tell you guys another stupid story. So if you don't want to hear a stupid, pointless story that's going to make you groan at the end, I'm not going to hate on you if you switch this video off now. This is the story of Joe Friday and his 3 bananas. So Joe Friday, he was a train conductor, worked in the switching yard, did a few things. This was quite a few years ago. Times were different. Joe Friday is one of the nicest people you would ever meet. Just a really great guy, always has a smile for everybody, always wants to know how your day is going, really listens to you too, and always wants to tell you something that'll put a smile on your face. Just a really great guy, somebody everybody likes. He was a little absent-minded though. Sometimes he'd make mistakes, but people make mistakes, and he's an easy guy to forgive because he was so kind-hearted and always so cool to everybody. Except one day, he was hitching up cars in the switching yard, and when he was hitching up the caboose, he was not paying attention to what he was doing. Matter of fact, he was thinking about some delicious smoked sausages he had hanging up at home that he was going to barbecue that night, and that was going to be a delicious dinner for him. And he was so preoccupied with the thought of those crisp sausages sizzling on the fire that he didn't hook the couplings together properly. When the train went to pull out, the caboose rolled backwards the other way. Joe noticed at the last second, and he also noticed there was a yard boy standing on the tracks. He tried to yell, tried to warn him, wasn't in time. The caboose rolled over the yard boy and killed him. Now, like I said, this was a while ago. Times were different. Justice was harsh. Joe Friday went to trial, got charged with murder, gross negligence, found guilty, sentenced to the electric chair. Justice was swift. It was only about a month later. The day of his execution was there. Now, the warden was a kindly sort, and he had really gotten to like Joe Friday, because, man, Joe was just such a good guy. And even sitting in prison waiting to die, He made friends with everybody. He was nice to everybody. And, you couldn't help but like the guy. So the warden came around to his cell and he said, "Well, Joe, you know, tonight's the night. Unfortunately, the law is the law, and we got to put you in the electric chair. But you get a last meal before you go. Anything you want. The sky's the limit. If the prison won't take care of it, I got you, buddy. I'll take care of it out of my own pocket. We'll get you whatever you want for your last meal. Just name it." Joe Friday said, "Well, Warden, I appreciate your kindness, but I guess executions just make me not very hungry. I think I'll just have one banana." The warden said, "Okay, well, if that's what you want, Joe, that's what you got." He brought him his one banana. Joe had his banana for his last meal. They took him to the electric chair. Strapped him in. The warden read him his last statement. Said, "According to the law, we execute you now." They flipped the switch. Volts went through Joe Friday's body. If you've ever seen someone executed in the electric chair, it ain't a pretty sight. After a minute of that, they flipped the switch off. Joe Friday was still alive. He wasn't even hurt. Suddenly his lawyer came bursting into the room, waving paperwork. According to a statute in that state, if a capital punishment prisoner survived the execution process, it was considered an act of God. They were a free man and their slate was wiped clean. The warden said, "Well, Joe, you're a free man." The judge said there's nothing he could do. You're free to go. Go your way and sin no more, buddy. Now, Joe, he decided he was going to turn over a new leaf. He said, "I'm going to be mindful from now on. I'm going to pay attention to everything I do so nothing like this ever happens again." And he did really good. He did so good, actually, that he got himself a job back at that same train yard. I know it sounds silly, but everybody there really liked him. They knew what a good guy he was and that he didn't mean any harm. And they thought he really turned over a new leaf. So he got his job back, working in the switching yard. Everything went really good for a while. Then one day, as he was moving the lever that turned the switch track to turn cars and hook them up to different trains in the middle of the yard, he wasn't paying attention. He was thinking about the big haunch of roast beef that he had in his fridge at home that he was going to cook up for his dinner with some gravy and mashed potatoes. Maybe a little bit of bread and butter on the side. That's all he could picture. And he wasn't paying attention. He moved the lever to the left instead of the right. Unfortunately, there were two men working on that side of the track, and they were crushed underneath the rotating track. Both killed. 2 men dead because of Joe Friday. So, of course, justice being what it was in that time and place, old Joe was quickly taken to trial, found guilty once again by the same judge. He said, "I can't believe you, Joe. This is the second time. You got out of this by an act of God the first time, but something must have it in for you. You're bound to go to the electric chair. I'm sorry." Went back to the same jail. Same warden. He's like, "I can't believe it, Joe. I never wanted to see you in here again, man. I was so happy when you were set free last time, but it seems like this is just your fate." I said, "You know, tonight's your execution. So I'll bring you a last meal. Same as before, whatever you want. Just let me know, and it's yours. Sorry it has to be this way." Joe said, "Well, warden, second execution night doesn't make me any hungrier than the first one, really, but I can't let your kindness just go unrequited, so I guess I'll just have 2 bananas. Warden said, 2 bananas, huh? Well, okay, if that's what you want for your last meal, Joe, that's what you get. You got him 2 fresh, ripe bananas. Joe ate them. They took him down to that same electric chair. 3 other murderers had been executed. The electric chair was working in perfect order between the last time Joe was here and this time. They strapped him in, read him that last little bit of paperwork, let him know he was going to die, and flipped the switch. Same thing happened. He was fine. He just didn't have any ill effects at all. His lawyer came busting in, yelling, "Act of God! Act of God!" Nothing anybody could do. The judge was perplexed. The lawyers were perplexed. The warden was perplexed, but none of them were really upset because Joe was such a good guy, you know. I mean, he was a really good person and everyone liked him, so they thought, well, hopefully he can turn over a new leaf, and they knew he didn't mean to do it, so maybe he'll be good this time. Well, Joe was released from prison. It took him a little bit longer this time, but that likable son of a bitch got himself talked back into his job at the train yard. This time the yard master said, look, we're not going to have you moving cars around or moving tracks. That just doesn't seem like an aspect of being a conductor that suits your particular temperament, so we're just going to stick you in the back of an engine and you're going to shovel coal into the boiler. Just take care of the boiler. That's your only job. Sit right here. That's all you got to do. Joe said, thank you so much. You know, he vowed again he was going to turn over a new leaf, and this time he was not going to let inattentiveness cost him his job, his freedom, or anyone else their lives. He did pretty good for a while. Then one day he got to thinking about pork chops. He didn't have any pork chops, but he was thinking about picking some up on the way home, dredging them in some breadcrumbs, frying them in lard. You know how they did back in the day. He wasn't paying attention. He shoveled too much coal into the boiler, and then he forgot to dump off the pressure valve. Luckily for Joe, he was standing out on the outside rail when it happened. The boiler blew. He was thrown free, only ended up with a few scrapes and bruises. But the brakeman and the engineer and one other guy were killed, all blown to pieces in the wreckage of the engine. 3 people dead. Old Joe Friday, back to the same prison after going through the same court and seeing the same judge. This time the judge said he was going to come down and watch the execution himself, to be sure that justice was served. Came down to the night before the execution. The warden came to Joe's cell and said, Joe, I've been a warden of a prison for a long time. I have never executed the same man 3 times before. This is not a situation I ever expected to be in, but what do you want for your final dinner, your last meal? Anything you want, Joe. I'll get it for you. And Joe looked down at the floor and looked back up at the warden and said, well, warden, these executions just don't seem to work up much of an appetite for me. I guess I'll just have 3 bananas. The warden said, no, hell no. I am not giving you any bananas. 1 banana for 1 person dead, and then no, 2 bananas, no. I'm not giving you your 3 bananas, Joe. I'm sorry. Joe didn't say anything. He just looked at the ground. The warden stormed out. It's time for the execution came. Joe went to it hungry. No bananas. They strapped him into the chair. Read that last statement to him. And flipped the switch. The electricity coursed through his body. But the same thing happened. Joe Friday did not die. Didn't look even hurt. His lawyer came bursting in and yelled, "Act of God, act of God!" And the judge said, "What is going on?" He came down to watch himself this time. And the warden said, "What the?" He said, "Joe, what's going on? I didn't even give you the bananas." They all just stood there in a circle, looking at him. Joe sat there in the electric chair with the cap on his head, hands still clamped to the chair, and said, "Warden, those bananas didn't have anything to do with me not being able to be electrocuted. The reason y'all can't electrocute me is the same reason I keep getting fired from the train yard." I said, What the hell is that?" A tear trickled from his eye, and he said, "I'm just not a very good conductor." So anyway, old Dark fired. Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, see you guys.